And then as requested at our last meeting about this, I've invited Lieutenant Roberts from MPD to also give us some stats about crime in the district, and then how the sort of the two, I know you had questions about how MPD will be working with, if necessary, with the National Guard as well. So allow me to introduce Director Hunt, and bear with me as I'm also working on the cameras, so it'll be a second. So apologize. Okay. Um, Director Hunt, would you want to give a brief introduction and tell you got about 10 minutes to sort of explain what's going on?
Okay. Well, first of all, Commissioner Donahue, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to the community. I'm going to try to break this into probably three pillars. First, I'm going to tell a little bit about myself, who I am. I'm going to give a little brief history of the DC National Guard and how we support the community. And then lastly, I'll wrap up in terms of task force beautification. And I was intentional of saying task force beautification as the president enacted a twofold mission: task force safe and task force beautification. So I'm here to kind of discuss and articulate a little bit about task force beautification. So who am I? Who's this gentleman sitting in front of me? My name is Marcus Hunt. I'm a three-generation Washingtonian. Grew up in Ward 4 in the Lamont community. Went to University of Pittsburgh after graduating St. John's to study civil engineering. From that, I commissioned in the United States Air Force and did 10 years active duty. My last active duty assignment was the base civil engineer on Andrews Air Force Base. And at that time, I left the active component and joined the DC National Guard, where I accepted a position as director of the DC National Guard as a district employee. Um, I'm raising my three daughters here in the district. My parents are still here. And as I mentioned earlier, I am an active member in the DC National Guard. So let's talk a little bit about the DC National Guard, a little history on it. It was founded in 1802 by President Thomas Jefferson with the enactment of the District of Columbia. One of the fun facts that I like to share about the history is our community, our DC National Guard, we served in every war in America, every single one from World War I all the way to the global war on terrorism. Um, we're very active in the community. One of the things that the DC National Guard prides ourselves on are youth engagements. And I would say one of the pillar of the foundation of the youth engagement is the DC National Guard Capital Guardian Youth Challenge Academy. We're located in Lowell, Maryland. We share a campus with DYRS, and that school is for the ages of 15 and a half through 18, and it's targeted for sort of that at-risk youth population. It's 22 weeks. It's free in residence, where a lot of those youth get the opportunity to do credit recovery. They can do high school diplomas. We also have a partnership with UDC, where many of our graduates are getting scholarships into UDC. Another program that we have for the youth is the Mary Berry Summer Youth Employment Program. We are a host site at the DC Armory. And we also participate in the high school internship program. We have partnerships with Dunbar High School and Eastern High School, where those students come to us throughout the year to also get that exposure. A little bit about task force beautification, right? Uh, August the 11th, the President of the United States enacted the DC National Guard in a twofold mission that was titled Task Force Safe, Task Force Beautification. Under Task Force Beautification, when it rolled out, it was sort of in the position of working with the community, working with our federal partners through NPS, open source information. You saw the National Guard. We were laying mulch, picking up trash in the community, and that's evolved. And 2 weeks ago, working with Commissioner Donahue, I sent a mass email out under the guidance of the director of the ANCs, who provided every ANC commissioner's email address, and sort of just saying, hey, who are we? We're part of this community, and we're asking in support of this task force beautification, are there requirements in our left and right boundaries that we can serve shoulder to shoulder with you and do these types of community projects. And look, here's the fear of the facts, right? We've experienced a full range of responses, right? We've had some ANC commissioners, particularly Commissioner Hickman, Commissioner Johnson in Ward 8, who said, hey, this is a great opportunity. And we've had community pickup days right around the corner. We've also had some commissioners reach out. Hey, thank you for your service, but this isn't something that we want the DC National Guard to participate in, and that's okay, right? So two questions that I have received in the past, and maybe I'll just really briefly do a quick deep dive on it. So why does the president authorize the DC National Guard, right? And the answer to that question is this: out of the 54 states and territory, the DC National Guard reports to the president because we're not a state, right? So when you look at the precedents of Maryland or Texas, the governor has full autonomy and authority over that guard unit. But again, founded in 1802, we are the only guard unit out of the 54 states and territory that reports to the president, right? So that was a really quick, down and dirty, to wet the palate. But I'm here for you, right? I want to give this an opportunity to address questions as it relates to task force beautification, how we can support the community outside of the mission, right? And so I'll turn it over to you, Commissioner Donahue, if you want to kind of facilitate where the questions come from. But again, I'm here to answer questions on the task force beautification.
And so I think what we'll do is we'll also turn to Lieutenant Roberts. He's going to give us a brief update on what our stats are as well. And I know that they are separate, but I want to make sure that we get Lieutenant Roberts involved in the conversation too, because I know that there's going to be some questions for you as well.
Okay, the best way to move forward with this is I'm gonna try my best to integrate both parts, meaning the National Guard as well as how we work with the police department, how National Guard works with the police department, and things of that nature. So how I'm gonna do things on my end, I'm gonna get into the crime stats as it pertains to PSA 607, Patrol Area 607, which is what Fairline's in. All right, and if you guys came to the last meeting or meetings with me in the past, I always start with the crime statistics. The way the crime statistics work is it's broken down into two parts. You have violent crime and you have non-violent crime. Okay, so your violent crime is going to be assault with a dangerous weapon, homicides, robberies, unfortunately sexual assaults, and anything dealing with like a seriousness of a weapon where somebody gets injured. That's going to be your violent crime. And the way the department works is we separate that with non-violent crime. Non-violent crime is going to be theft, motor vehicle theft, petty theft, like you're stealing from a store or some kind of business and things of that nature. Then we have burglaries and we have thefts from cars, not the actual car itself, but breaking in their car and stealing, money or the radio or things of that nature. That's how the crime is broken down. So it's going to be violent crime and non-violent crime. And forgive me if I'm moving too fast or too slow. So I'm also going to break it down I'm going to start with year to date and then I'm work my way down. So year to date is going to be January 1st, 2025 to now September 23rd, 2025. And then I'll break it down to 90 days, right? And I'll break it down to the last 60 days and then the last 30 days. So I'm gonna start with year to date, which is January 1st, 2025 to now September 23rd, 2025. So as it pertains to Patrol Service Area 607, we have had a 67% decrease in homicides this year, 67%, right? We've had a 20% change in assault with a dangerous weapon. That's the crime I've talked about before, where somebody gets hit with a very serious object, a brick, a bat, or a bottle, and things of that nature. So you have a 20% decrease in that. The sexual assault case has not changed as it pertains to this year versus last year. But in all transparency, the sex abuse cases in 607 is very low. For the entire year, there have been 3 sexual assaults at 607, which is relatively speaking low. So that hasn't changed, but it's low. 3 is very low. Okay, and then we have a 42% reduction in robberies, which is huge. All right, robberies are down 42%. January 1st, 2025 to September 23rd, 2025 versus January 1st, 2024 to September 23rd, 2024. So there's a 42%. So overall, overall violent crime in 607 is down overall 30%. 30%. But the big number that sticks out to me is robberies, which is down 43%. But when you combine the robberies with everything else we got going on, it's close to 30%. All right. But homicides is a big number as well. 67% is a lot. It's a huge reduction in the robberies. But overall, as a whole, it's down 30% based on the average. Now, the non-violent crime, which like I spoke to before, has been burglaries, motor vehicle theft, stealing a car, stealing objects from a car. All right, arson as well, which we don't really have a lot of arson in the city as a whole. I'm being honest with you, especially down here down in PSA 607, which is going to be burning of property. We actually haven't had any arson this year in this area. Somebody intentionally setting fire to a building or structure of that nature. All right, so the burglaries are unchanged, 0% reduction. All right, the deaths from autos are down 15%. All right, people breaking into cars about 15% this year. Stolen cars are down 9%. All right, and theft in general is down 9%. So slight reduction in stolen cars, slight reduction in just general theft. But the biggest number that stood out to me was the 58% reduction from people breaking into cars. That's a 58% reduction. So non-violent crime is down 21%. And when you combine the non-violent crime with the violent crime, PSA 607 year to date is down a total of 20% overall crime wise, 23%. But the things that stick out is the large percentage of the homicides, the assault or the robberies, and the breaking into cars. So overall, we're down 23% as a whole. And I'll just get into because I can get a little long-winded. I'll get into last 30 days. Last 30 days, we haven't had any homicides, and that's partly due to the officers as well as the federal partners we've been working with, to include the National Guard and ATF, DEA, FBI, which been working 60 every single day. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. Well, I'll get to that in a second. So we're down 100% with homicide. You haven't had one in the last 30 days, all right? 67% with robberies over the last 30 days, all right? 67% with burglaries. We're down 57% with stolen cars. We're down 80% with people breaking into cars. And we're down 39% for nonviolent crime, and also 39% as a whole for all crime in 607 is down 39% in the last 30 days. So that's pretty good. That's pretty much the gist of it. So with the federal government assisting us with policing, it is working, it is helping. It's been very effective, as you can see with the crime stats, and it just keeps going down. All right. Does anybody have any questions? And would you like to start with me or?
Yeah, Lieutenant. I know the community has talked a lot about the 2200 block of Minnesota.
Yeah.
Can you talk to a little bit about the successes that we've had there and what we're doing to make sure that our kids are safe getting to and from school?
For the 2200 block of Minnesota, in that we have officers there on a daily basis. On average, I am most of the time the watch commander at 60 on the evening tour, which is from 12 to 8 p.m. Right. So the watch commander changes. So you have the commander, he's the commanding officer of the district. That's Commander Jerron Hickman. Okay, he oversees everybody. But on a daily basis, there's someone in charge of all the officers, right? And that's called the watch commander. And that changes for a day shift, evening shift, and night shift, right? The day shift is 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. The evening shift is 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. And the midnight shift is 8 p.m. to 4 o'clock. And we change every single day, and different people and things of that nature. But I'm usually, me and my partner, Lieutenant Sotelo, we're usually the evening watch commander.
And Lieutenant, I'm not to interrupt you, but specifically, what are some of the successes that we're seeing on the 2200 block of Minnesota Avenue?
That's what I'm going to get into. So what it is that when I'm the watch commander, Sotelo usually works at nighttime, and he does the federal partnership, and they go out to the 2200 block of Minnesota with the FBI, DEA, and ATS. They make arrests with gun arrests as well as drug arrests in that area specifically on a weekly basis, all right? And then sometimes it gets processed under the federal statute of the arrests versus the EC statute with the feds. So because we work well together, he always takes the federal partners down there to make arrests with the guys that hang on the 2200 block of Minnesota Avenue. But there's been a significant change just in terms of the loitering and the foot traffic down there, and the crime stats also reflect that we haven't had a significant, violent crime happen in the last 30 days. That's a 607, which the 2200 block of Minnesota Avenue is the PS 607.
And so my understanding is specifically to this block, we have had some arrests for distribution for drugs, because I think the community's big concern is that there's a lot of drug selling going on this block, and that kids are going to and from, and that they're being subjected to that. We've got the drug addicts in the Triangle Park. Those are some of the successes that we've had that we're trying to get that block cleaned up.
Yeah. So in Minnesota Avenue, the crime suppression team, as well as the federal agency, they arrested the guy that was selling drugs. They're still doing investigations as it pertains to that, and the big fish is still hasn't been apprehended. We made some arrests of some dealers in that neighborhood. Guys having small quantities of marijuana, cocaine, crack, and things of that nature. But there are also several long-term investigations going on in the city right now that I really can't get into, but we're still investigating. But on a daily basis, the federal partners, as well as the crime suppression team and the city officers, they go out there and they hit these target areas that we had all over the 6th district. One of the target areas is going to be the 4,000 to the 4,200 block of Minnesota Avenue. One of the target areas is going to be the 2,100 block to the 2,200 block of Minnesota Avenue. Another target area we always hit is the 37th Place and 37th Street. Ridge, go ahead.
When you call out these addresses,
Yeah.
I know this area,
Yeah.
but what is the landmark? Is it the post office? Is it the car wash?
The land-
Is it yeah?
Okay, so
you call out the street.
yeah.
Oh no.
Okay, no problem.
Let me know the area.
Okay, so on this side, our landmark is going to be Mr. Lee's brunch, and in the liquor store. That's where we hit there. It's Triangle Park. That's going to be a landmark for this side.
Okay.
You know Mr. Lee's brunch?
Yeah.
The park and the liquor store. That here. On the other side, the landmark is going to be the McDonald's. You guys know the McDonald's up on Minnesota Avenue? The 4,000 block. McDonald's. So that area is a little more challenging. Go ahead.
Is that part of 7? Because I know from
the 6.
and the substation is right there where the old bank used to be at.
Yes, that's 6.
Oh, okay.
But I'm just telling you the areas that we usually hit. So the McDonald's, we hit the McDonald's hard, which is going to be Minnesota and then, right? We hit Triangle Park, Mr. Lee's brunch, the liquor store. We hit that area hard. We go up on 18th and T near the library off Good Hope Road, or America Avenue. We hit that area hard. That's the area that's on this side, right? And another area that doesn't necessarily have a landmark, we call it the Circle. And the Circle means 37th Place, 37th Street, off of Ridge Road. It's a well-known neighborhood. Unfortunately known for a lot of gang violence and group violence, things of that nature. We call in the police department we call it the Circle. So we always hit the Circle, and when we hit the Circle, we always make arrests when we go up on 37th Street, 37th Place. But the biggest thing is, in my opinion, is who's working with the federal partners. And you have myself, and you have, Lieutenant Hackman working with the federal partners. However, because I'm PSA 607, right, which is here, I make sure that 607 gets the most attention, so to speak, the most enforcement from the extra resources that we have. Now, you also have to remember the federal agencies, they don't drive police cars, so you might not see them, all right? And I come to work at 12 o'clock, right? So I'm the watchman from 12 to 8. I get up at 8 o'clock, and then I go with the feds, right? At 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, which I'm hoping you guys will sleep, we're out there. And I'm serious, we're out there, wee hours of the night, and you won't even know it. And we 3 or 4 o'clock in the night, it's so fascinating, because we're like 50 deep, right? And it's one police car, and I maybe hang back a little bit, and it's like 10 federal agents, 10 to 15 federal cars, right? Running down all through up and through Carolina and 607, making arrests, and you would not know none otherwise. I'm telling you. And this is at 3 o'clock in the morning, which I'm hoping you guys are asleep. But I'm just trying to explain that even though you might not see us, we're out there.
Right.
And then so I'll go from 12 to maybe 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, right? And then Sotelo, we switch back and forth. So now Sotelo's the watch commander. He's watch commander of the district, and he works with the federal parts. So we're going back and forth. There's a couple other lieutenants as well that does this, but it's usually me, Sotelo, and Lieutenant Hackman. And we just going back and forth, rotating, working with the federal partners and going all through the district. And because, like I said, I'm 607, I make sure 607 gets some love and attention in terms of, arresting the guys for the drugs, the guns, and things of that nature. I would say, I can talk forever. So I would say on a nightly basis, I have an area that's mostly 60, but we get about maybe 9 guns a night, believe it or not, every single night. This is 60 at home. We get a couple from Fairline, but we bounce around. So we get about 9 gun arrests a night. With some drugs and things of that nature, but we make a ton of arrests. And I'm gonna pass the mic over.
Yeah, so what I really would want to stress is that we have 2 sort of segments of the National Guard. We've got the federal part and the safety part. And I liked the way that you sort of had explained it to me on the phone. And I think that's some miscommunication or misunderstanding of our community, that what you're asking the ANC commissioners to do is invite the local, the people who are our neighbors, the people that we'll see at the dog park, into our community to help clean it up. I'll share with you my personal opinion.
You want better?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're inviting me to come into your community. That's just that you're inviting me to come into your community. I think it's the best way to say that.
Yeah, and I'll state my opinion. I'm a firm believer. First of all, my family, my father served for 42 years in the United States Army as a command sergeant major. I have the highest respect for our military. However, I firmly believe that the military and our National Guard should be home with their families. And we'll get to questions in just a second, Commissioner. But however, they're ordered to be here, not by Mayor Bowser, not by the council members, but by the President of the United States. And there's 2 facets to it. It's the one is the safety, and then one is the federal part, as Lieutenant Roberts was saying. So, is there any clarification that you want to make on that before we start?
Safe and beautiful.
Safe and beautiful. Yeah. Okay. So I know there's probably a lot of questions. Is there any 8A01 residents that have any questions in the room here? Commissioner?
Can't hear you guys.
Commissioner, can you use the mic so that everyone online can hear too?
Good evening. My name is Vivian Davis, and I am the commissioner for 8A03 and following on Chair Dividing Line on Minnesota Avenue. And I saw today that you had posted that you were having the Director of National Guard here today. And you had your constituents, you said your constituents were going to be taking a vote as to whether or not they wanted it in the community. And I wanted clarification if you're taking a vote, one, and two, what is designated as the community?
So this is an ANC 8A01 single member district meeting. So I've invited my constituents to this meeting in order to better educate the community, the neighborhood. Again, being that this is a specific 8A01 meeting. So yes, it's my intention to ask those that are participating online and in person who are constituents of the 8A01, their feedback in whether or not they would want to welcome the National Guard into our Fairlawn, our neighborhood, consisting of 8A01. The purpose, Commissioner, let me finish, please. The reason I'm doing that is because I also then want to take that information to our full council, our full commission next Tuesday. It's important that we hear from our constituents. We hear from the people within our community. And so given the fact that we had a discussion last week on Zoom, and that many people were split about whether to invite the National Guard into the community and the concerns that they had with them, I decided that having the director come to tonight's meeting was a great idea so that he can address some of the concerns and answer some of the questions. And then at the end, I wanted to get a feel of how our community or my constituents felt about bringing the National Guard into 8A01. So yeah, I do want to know, and that's why a vote will be taken, and I want to make sure that I get the feedback from my constituents.
Yes, ma'am.
If his community, his constituents want the National Guard in his particular.
I can't hear you.
How do you propose to only address his area?
I cannot hear the person speaking.
You say you can't hear us, ma'am? Can you hear me?
Yeah, now that's better.
Okay, so basically, the way the police department works, as well as when we work with the federal partners and things of that nature, it's not divided. We service everybody, especially as it pertains to Fairlawn and 607. We don't focus on one side on one side. We give everybody love. And what it is that when we do enforcement of crime and things of that nature, we like to actually move to different areas, because if you target one specific area all the time, there's nothing left. All right, and you come in, you become predictable. So one night, like I said, we're going to be down on Fairlawn. We might be down on Minnesota Avenue. Another night we might be up on Marion Avenue. Another night we might be up in the 44,000 block of Minnesota. So we're bouncing around. So there's actually no division as it pertains to. Yeah, there's no division. Everybody gets some. Everybody gets some love. Yes, ma'am.
Is there, if they take a vote, does that have any weight? Are you all going to adhere to that? Are you going to honor that? Or
Commissioner,
I'm asking a question.
it's my meeting. Excuse me.
Okay, all right. Okay, so if there's a vote, I understand.
The whole 8A, so I'm asking here as representing the commission asking these questions.
This is an 8A01 single member district meeting.
We're breaking down a little bit. So basically, if there's a vote taken, I understand the vote and things of that nature. The Richmond Police Department, we service the whole entire Washington D.C. We service all community members inside the city. All right, so we understand there's a vote, but we don't pick this. We're here for everybody. So basically, what I mean by that, let's say there's a vote for us to be on a particular side, but we see something happening on the other side. We're going to go on the other side and enforce that, get that done, get that, those drugs and things of that nature. So we don't have dividing lines in terms of the Metropolitan Police Department. We work for the city, we work for the citizens, and we're here to protect and serve all the citizens of DC. The politics side of that's not something that we're actually very versed in and very familiar with. We just know that if there's crime being committed, we're trying to either stop the crime, prevent the crime, or solve the crime.
And to be specific, and to add to that, tonight's purpose is to inquire about the National Guard and whether or not what the community feels, what my constituents of 8A01 feel about bringing the National Guard into 88014 beautification projects. And so that's what the vote, it's not necessarily a vote that has a lot of weight, but it does give me a sense of how to report on behalf of my constituents to the full commission next Tuesday. So there's I'm not looking for, there's no power in the vote other than to gauge what my constituents want me to do as their elected official on their behalf next week at our full commissioner.
So I can go on when you actually posted, you said that you were having a vote to say whether or not the national government would not differentiate beautification or for enforcement. So that is why I'm here, to clarify.
Thank you.
For your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, now.
Now,
Anybody have any questions? How about for
Yeah,
the
that's
National Guard?
talking about the National Guard.
okay, go ahead.
One thing about the National Guard, matter of fact, I have a daughter, National Guard, she's out now,
DC National Guard?
yes.
Okay.
And, no, I don't think that they should be in our neighborhood.
Okay.
doing Any type of cleaning up. Their job is to go to Afghanistan like my daughter did,
Okay.
or with something like that. What we actually need, if you're doing beautification, we need jobs.
Yeah.
Pay these young men that you see sitting on the corner, give them a siphon and let them beautify. Those guys is sitting there waiting for Donald Trump to call and say you got to go. So they do not need to be here in the city, beautifying the city. With us people here in the District of Columbia, in this area, we have youth down in Kramer, Anacostia, they can have jobs. Also, that deals with your crime problem too.
I can talk to you about the jobs piece.
Okay.
First of all, thank you for the service of your daughter. One DC National Guard.
Maybe.
Okay. But thank you for your service too. One of the things that really highlights the uniqueness of the Guard from the total force. So you're talking about active duty, you're talking about the reserves and the Guard. What differentiates the Guard from the other two components of the total force is we are the community, right? So,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, give me a second. When you talked about jobs, right? One of the things that the National Guard prides ourselves on, particularly the DC National Guard, between the Army and the Air, we offer 110 different types of jobs for the community members to come in and join. Everything from aircraft mechanic to engineers, to lawyers, to chaplains, and everything in between, right? And so we talked about coming into the community. Yes, this mission has exacerbated our presence, but we've always been in the community. The 2,400 soldiers and airmen that are in the National Guard are from our community. I was kind of joking with Commissioner Donahue just a minute ago. When we're invited in the Guard, you're looking at who you're inviting, right? A three-generation Washingtonian that's raising my family in Ward 8, right? So that's where we are. So the other part about jobs, let's talk about college tuition, right? College tuition is it's a bill that I don't think any parent wants to pay, right? The DC National Guard is offering $15,000 of tuition assistance per year for members of the DC National Guard. So when we talked about jobs, we're talking about opportunities, we're talking about exposure. That's why we're in the community. That's what we're offering the community. And I do understand your comments about your perspective and your opinion on should the National Guard support the beautification mission. And again, that's a mission that the mayor didn't initiate. That came from the president, right? So again, what we can offer is we're here to do a mission, but we can also state to our pillars of being in the community to help with the jobs. And as I mentioned in my introduction, also helping the youth, right? That's a big part of what we're doing. Does that sort of answer the question?
Sort of,
Okay.
it was a light coat. But a lot of these kids that don't have guidance in their household, you would be better off if you go at Anacostia or go to Kramer. Really Kramer, get those kids first, because I'm gonna tell you, the ones that's in high school, they gone. You got to get those sixth graders that's coming from all going to Kramer. Those are the ones that you have to meet. I have a job to do too. I have to participate in those schools too. instead of just standing here giving you some word.
Yes,
It's part of my job to do some of that too.
You mentioned Kramer, and again, I just want to highlight the leadership of Commissioner Hickman. He's another board commissioner. So the National Guard is partnering with him, I believe it's this Friday, for a community event at Cream, right?
Okay.
And we're going to talk a little bit about some of, the different jobs that guardsmen have. And, it's also showing a level of hope, right? When these young kids see, people who grew up in a community, they can be wearing a suit or wearing a uniform. It gives them an opportunity to look at that and say, wow, this is something that I can do. So your point about Kramer, we're going to be there this Friday.
Okay.
So I
Yes,
also
sir.
want to,
Yes, sir.
I also want to open it up to, we have a good amount of people online as well. If somebody has a question for Director Hunt, feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Ms. Harrison.
This is Miss Harrison, and my question is actually, I appreciate you and the gentleman on the board to discuss everything that you're saying with regards to the police officers as well as the National Guard. I actually I have a question that may be off center, but it may be more towards you, Commissioner. I live at the 18th and Fairlawn.
Ms. Harrison?
Yes.
Can we, I want to stick to the questions right now in regards to the director. But we're going to have an opportunity to open
Okay, well,
for regular,
I have a
if that's
question.
okay.
For him. I have a question for him too, as well. We
Okay,
can
great,
go
perfect.
on the board. My question for the armed forces: what is there still a cadet program? Because I remember, growing up I'm a native Washingtonian as well, and I do agree with the gentleman that talked about the military. I remember being in a Kramer and Anacostia, which I'm an alumni, but I remember having like cadet programs. And the cadet programs would catch those young guys, young girls who may not have the parental guidance, just like the rec centers, but they would catch those and have them to participate as a way of getting them one off the street and sort of focused as to giving them some guidance as to showing them there's more to life than just hanging in the street. So I think the cadet program, if it's not active, maybe brushing the dust off the cadet programs and just considering it, because we need activities for the youth.
Yeah. Ma'am, what's your name again?
Lavette Harrison.
Harrison.
Ms. Harrison.
Ms. Harrison, that's a fantastic question. So the program I believe that you're alluding to, it's called the DC National Guard Capital Guardian Youth Challenge Academy, that specializes between the ages of 15 and a half and 18, that targets what we call at-risk youth, students who have been disengaged, maybe have some issues at home. It's 22 weeks. It's in residence. It's free. It's an opportunity for those kids to earn credit recovery through DCPS, also GED opportunities. And a lot of our graduates who leave that program are actually getting scholarships to the University of the District of Columbia and also into Job Corps. So that program is alive and active.
Okay, thank you, Director.
Okay, I appreciate that. And one last question for the police officer. Mr. Officer,
Yes, ma'am.
we in our neighborhood, we have been experienced or exposed to a lot of crime that's going on. And some of the crime that's happening is actually not so much at the nighttime. But my concern, I think the question Commissioner posed to you is, what are some of the things that you're doing during the core hours, during the school hours, to ensure that those children come from, may it be Boone, may it be Kramer, may it be Anacostia, that they go home? Because we live close to the school, and a lot of times we see a lot of these kids just drifting or hanging in our neighborhoods. And we welcome the kids, but we welcome the kids that's gonna walk through, do what they have to do. We're talking about lounging, smoking, and doing things like that. Where are the police officers during the core hours or the school hours?
You said during the school hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, as in when they going to school, in terms of even if it's just a minor thing of sitting with your lights on or going to, when they're coming home from school. On the Fairlawn Avenue side, I see a lot of kids just sitting on the side. I know you have to congregate somewhere, but sometimes congregation brings a little disruption. You know what I mean? So where are the police officers during that time? I know you talked about all the federal officers that work, but I'm talking about the 6D, 7D officers. Are they available just to sit when the kids are getting out of school to ensure that they're not, damaging people's property or smoking and just being not where they're supposed to be?
So Ms. Harrison, we have safe passages in Washington, DC. And in the 6th district and the 7th district, and safe passage actually enforces making sure that the kids get out of school, and when they're going home, they get home safe, as well as they don't commit any crimes and things of that nature. Safe passage happens in the morning and at nighttime, but no officer usually sits on post. They're always in constant rotation, because we found that the statistics suggest that when you sit in one place, you actually don't prevent anything from happening. Things happen around the corner while you're sitting there in your cruiser for hours on end. So
I'm not
officers
necessarily,
actually drop-
I understand, not to cut you off and not to say sitting, but I'm saying patrolling, just riding through the neighborhood. You don't have to sit there. We just want to see visibility because, again, we see kids and not all of them are bad, but not all of them are good. And we just want to make sure that, they're doing what they're supposed to do and not lingering in our neighborhoods.
That's correct, Ms. Harrison. With the 6th district, as it pertains to 607 officers, the 607 officers also assist the school resource officers with this particular area as it pertains to Boone Elementary. If I'm being 100% honest with you, Ms. Harrison, Boone Elementary is not one of our problem schools. It's just not.
I think she's referring to the concerns.
And Kramer as well.
I think she's talking about.
Schools.
I'm assuming she's talking about what's happening in front of along Madison
Yeah.
Avenue.
So what it is that for many years, the citizens have complained about people loitering and hanging out, but no citizen has came to me and told me that they went to their local politician or attorney to get the loitering law made to be a crime. So people hanging out and walking in neighborhoods is still not a crime, to be honest with you, Ms. Harrison. And nobody has changed.
I understand that it's not a crime, but I'm saying,
So
we can't control walking through, and walking through is fine, as long as they're doing their thing. But I'm talking about sitting, smoking weed, and I know we can't control that, but I think if the presence just a drive through down Fairlawn Avenue,
Yes,
would
ma'am.
be nice sometimes. Thank you so much.
Anytime, ma'am.
So I do want to take a couple of questions. There's a couple of questions in the chat. The question about endorsing the beautification team of the National Guard. Can you talk about what they're doing that the national parks and DC teams that already do these tasks are doing? Are the DC National Guards being called to work on beautification team when they are not activated? Don't they have regular jobs in the community?
Okay, so I want to make sure I understand the first part of the question. The way I understand it is the DC National Guard substituting the work of local district agencies and NPS? Was that the nature of the question?
Yeah, sounds like. Can you talk to what they're doing that the national park and DC teams that already do these tasks are doing? So aren't you going to be doing some of the things that we have DPW and other agencies already doing?
Yeah, so that's sort of the day-to-day responsibilities of those agencies. But again, what we're looking to garner support from the community are shoulder-to-shoulder volunteer opportunities, right? I don't have the actual law in front of me in terms of what DPW's sort of boundaries are in terms of cleaning up, but it's my understanding that I think like outside of the 10 feet outside of the home or whatnot, it's the residents' responsibility. So we're really hoping that the community shapes a little bit of what they would like for us to support it. And I would just want to make sure I say that the DC National Guard, we're not here to substitute or take the roles and responsibilities from NPS or DPW. That's their job, right? The word we're looking for is community. We're looking for opportunities to stand shoulder to shoulder with the community and do some of these projects.
So, Director, you're kind of talking about like when we've in 8801 have done multiple community cleanups. So you want to join those efforts and have the community, the National Guard join us, the residents, the people who are also helping out there picking up. You just want to sort of supplement and add to what we can get done.
To supplement and add to, and sir, to your point as well, if there are opportunities under this mission where you mentioned Kramer Middle School, there's an opportunity to engage with the youth, right? If it's a Friday night movie night,
Right.
those are opportunities through the ANC commissioners that the community would love for the DC National Guard to come out and work with the youth under a structured event. We're more than willing to do those things.
There's another question. What's happening with, I'm sorry, what funding did Trump provide for this task beautification? If so, how much? If not, why not? Or if not, why not? Why not fund a program to hire DC residents to do these beautification projects? Now, this isn't something that that any of the units have control over. You have control over. This is something that President Trump has.
I think it's a great question, and it's my recommendation is best suited for the White House. Direct that question towards the White House.
Okay. Uh,
Yes, ma'am.
If the president ordered the task force to be together, what specific are they saying we should do?
could you just repeat the question?
Yeah, so the question is, if the president,
For this to be, because I don't have a problem with it, but I don't hear, I guess a plan.
yes, ma'am. So the question is, the president ordered the DC National Guard to, under one pillar, to execute task force beautification. And I think we've kind of talked through some of what that plan looks like, right? Again, when you look at the Guard, man, you know, we are part of the community. So it's standing shoulder to shoulder with the community and partnering with those events, like we just mentioned, if it's a community cleanup day or if it's a youth activity event. I do believe that the National Guard, we participated in a food bank activity. So if these are the types of events where the community would like to stand shoulder to shoulder with this to help execute it, that's why the request went out. So I think when we started to look at sort of working with the community, it's shaped jointly between the National Guard and the community because we are the community.
Okay, so if the community, for those who don't know, but you've been ordered to do this, do you still proceed to do this? Yeah.
I don't think you see under beautification us infringing on events or projects that we weren't welcome to, right? But I think what you have witnessed for in terms of, and this is why I think it's important to look at the nomenclature, right? So, you know, there are multiple parks in DC that are federally owned, right? You know, let's take Malcolm X Park, for example. The National Guard actually, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, we had a contingent of soldiers that went out there to clean Malcolm X Park. That's in the community, but that's federal property. So in addition to working with the community, we're also partnering with NPS to get after some of these community events.
Don't necessarily have to partner with the people who live in the community.
We're partnering with all stakeholders, man. All stakeholders, all stakeholders, all stakeholders. Yes, ma'am.
Somebody's asking about the funding. Who's paying for all the National Guard? Is it a DC thing? Is it the federal government? Who's paying for all that? And if you could talk to that
That's a great question. So that goes back to our introduction. So the DC National Guard is the only Guard unit out of the 54 states and territory that's federal. We are the only Guard unit that reports to the president. So we're federally funded.
Okay, so is there any other, particularly any constituents within 8801 that have questions? I know that we had a good conversation last week, and some of you had concerns about the Guard being here. If you could just either type them in the chat or unmute yourself to ask. In the meantime, you've heard some of the challenges that why people may not want you into the community. Can you talk a little bit about and maybe ease some of those concerns that you've heard?
Well, let's share. What are some of the concerns?
I just think that they do their job. You know, I really, the National Guard, I love the beautification that they're doing, but me being ex-military, that's their job. That's what they should be doing. Oh, I understand that, but I'm just saying, I know preaching to the choir, but what I'm saying is, their job is not, but they want to do something else.
So is it your consensus, is it consensus here that like, since they have to be here, because they don't have a choice, they're ordered, should we have them working in our community doing beautification jobs?
Yes, because we have to follow orders.
Okay, true.
Some kids out here see, and you can have conversations, you working along with the community, you never know, you might.
But some might push back and say, okay, well, now we're just, nobody wants to get used to the Army or the National Guard being in our communities. As you said, it should be for, emergencies like hurricanes and things like that. If we start getting used to the, militarization of our communities, is that a fear that we should be concerned about?
Yeah.
And so that's where I think, that's where this discussion needs to, is.
The fear is that it seems like we have the police, that's their job. So that means that president, or I'm not definitely speaking about Mr. Trump, but any president can tell that military to come in and take over your neighborhood and basically tell you, we want this house, so we're gonna this is gonna be our headquarters. So get out of here. I don't want the military doing that. Let this gentleman right here, that's his job. That's my fear with the military.
Now, keeping in mind, keeping in mind saying this, keeping in mind, it's really important that we decipher the two. We have a beautification of our local National Guard, the people who are neighbors, and then the safety is the task force safety group, which is the ones that we're seeing at the metro stations with rifles and things like that. So when we're thinking about this, we have to think about them as two completely different components. And so the question is that we're not going to see weapons on any of our local DC National Guards. My understanding is no local DC National Guard units are weaponized.
Correct.
Well, part of ones with the guns walking around.
I believe they're supporting Task Force C.
Supporting
Task Force C.
I know what it is.
So, in which is not,
Right.
and what. So the good way to tell the difference is if they are armed, then they are National Guard. They are National Guard units from out of Washington D.C. They have been brought in from West Virginia and other states, and are not local D.C. National Guard units. The local D.C. National Guard units that we would be seeing are the ones that are unarmed, and that's where he's specifically asking for whether or not tasks that they could do. We may not want, I don't want to say we don't want them here, but we may want them to return to their full-time jobs and their family like that. But since they are being ordered here by the president, should we utilize them as part of our neighborhood?
Chief, whatever he says, got to go.
Okay.
I don't think they should be here. He should be home with his family. His daughter got wild with her, so valet.
Miss O'Reilly says, yes, we need to resist this recruitment pitch that ignores the fact that beautification is not the job of the National Guard, or in all due respect to be part of our community. As he keeps saying, the DC National Guard has a dual legal mission to support the U.S. Army and Air Force with federal missions and to protect the District of Columbia in a state level role, a unique position as the only National Guard subordinate solely to the president. Its mission includes providing personnel for active duty during national emergencies, supporting civilian authorities for homeland security, and responding to domestic crises such as national disasters, reflecting its national role and commitment to protecting the nation's capital. But can our local National Guard become part of Safe Task Force?
Yes, that's a great question. So when you look at this mission, the DC National Guard oversees both components. So there's a large administrative and logistical tail that goes into supporting this mission. To your point, when you have guardsmen from West Virginia, we have guardsmen from other states, someone, the DC National Guard, because, we are the home state, if you will, we have to make sure that there's bus transportation. We have to make sure there's food. If there's an issue of someone's pay. So when you look at the DC National Guard behind the curtain, we're taking lead on making sure that the operation does run smoothly. So when you look at Task Force Safe and when you look at Task Force Beautification, you really can't, say it's a mutually exclusive event where just the DC National Guard is only doing one. The DC National Guard, under the leadership of General Blanchard, we're leading this mission that was authorized by the president. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, but I'll add a more. The 68 rods, those 50 caliber guns that were sitting down there on the Capitol, Lyndon Johnson sent them out there. And that's why I'm afraid of having the National Guard do that. But, I'm gonna give you this right here, I'm gonna show you this here, but this is actually what I'm ready to do. That's what I'm afraid of.
Do you have any coordination with the task force Safe? And do you understand where they are? Is there communication between the two of you?
I'm not privy to those operational details.
Gotcha. How do we get the cleanup of people throwing out trash out their windows and trash piling up? This happens every evening. Trash is being thrown out right now. If our city can't clean up our neighborhoods, then who should be doing this? I have contact all parts of DC to get this done.
I'll be remiss and that's a great question. I'll be remiss. So when you see the DC National Guard, particularly the last 2 weekends working in Ward 8, it's not the DC National Guard operating without the support of the city, right? We are in communication. We're partnering with DPW. So this is a true holistic team event, right? So if we were invited by Commissioner Donahue to partner with a community cleanup event, on the back end of that, my office, we're also coordinating with DPW because the city is, like we mentioned, we're not here to substitute or, erase the jobs that our city's doing. We're just here to really stand shoulder to shoulder with the community and partner with these events. But we're not erasing the work of DPW, the great work that they're doing, quite honestly.
Okay, and I'm going to wrap this part of it up here just momentarily. They haven't asked to clean up. They're only doing this to help. So I want to specifically reach out to my 8A01 constituents online. This is your last opportunity to ask the director any questions you may have. So please speak up now. You can either type it in the chat box or you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Or if there's any other questions in here.
No, like the Sarah's said, it's right next door. We used to have a police that sit down there at 17th and Brown. And somebody complained about the guy sitting there, but he was doing his paperwork. Matter of fact, the guy grew up in that area. Matter of fact, he went to school with Miss Harris and my younger brother. And somebody complained, well, why is he sitting there? Well, we no longer have police. Prolong is one-way street. But they'll go up that street.
Director, one last question. What's the outlook? Where do we go from here? How long do you anticipate your folks and our neighbors being in this role? How long are our service members committed to, and do they have a choice to maybe go back to their families if they need to or want to?
That's a great question. So here's what I can tell you on the timeline. Commanding General has orders that go through the end of November. But again, the president has authority to either end those orders early or extend. That's the authority of the president. I want to see if you can maybe help me on this question.
Okay.
If you were in the Navy if you were given orders to do a 6-month deployment, let's say on an aircraft carrier,
That's what I wrote.
and you wanted to go home, can't just say I don't want to do this anymore, right? You know, one of the I would say you know, one of the things that I think is important when we look at the U.S. military, it's a voluntary force. And when you raise your right hand to say, I willfully support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that's serious business. That's not something that you just jump into one day, maybe because of the benefits, and you want to jump out because it's something you don't like. When we serve in the uniform capacity, when we don America's fabric, that's serious business. So that's not something that you just wake up one day and say, I don't want to play anymore, right? Because the community is relying on us. We talked a little bit about the away games. I forgot the comment that was given, you know, our Air Force over the Andrews Air Force Base. We have members over there sitting 24/7 flying to F-16s. They do an ACA alert mission to protect the National Capital Region skies. Yes, they're away from their family, but they have an important mission to do to protect the community. So I just want to let folks know I do understand and I do empathize with the team. But when we voluntarily raise our right hand to support and defend the Constitution, that's serious business.
One last question. Can National Guard members who are DC residents go home at night? That's a great question.
Yes, they go. Yes, we have to sleep.
So they're not staying in hotels. Are they being fed? Are they,
Yes.
how's that all the logistics of that all work?
Yes.
That's a great question.
So for our DC National Guardsmen that are within the radius, we go home after the end of our duties. But again, we do have some DC Guardsmen that reside outside of the local community. So, you know, because that mission is activated, they have the ability to stay in hotels so they can get to work obviously on time. But again, we are, you know, the soldiers are eating 3 meals a day and a snack, and kudos to Mayor Bowser. She actually authorized the funding of water for the soldiers. So it's a true effort, right? When we look at the DC National Guard, it's the mayor's guard. So, you know, of course she's going to support our soldiers, right?
Director, on behalf of my constituents, on behalf of myself and my family, thank you for your service. You know, like I said, my father served for 42 years. I not only want to thank yourself and your family, but I also want to extend that to make sure that our National Guard, our neighbors, and know that we appreciate them, and I thank them and their families. As an Army brat for a long time, I know what it's like to have, you know, my dad gone for periods of time, and although we didn't get to see him at night, I know what it's like, and that's you know, dedication to the family as well. So please, on behalf of my constituents and my neighbors, please let our neighbors know that we do appreciate them and that we thank them for their service, and I mean that sincerely.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. Oh, so I'm sorry.
Whether they're gloves or armed with weapons on their side, particularly these National Guard members who will be picking up trash and being on roll. How could that deter crime in?
So I think the presence does help, right? You know, when you see the National Guard, we kind of alluded to the uniform that we wear, it demands respect, right? You know, I could just after work going into a community store, you know, to get gas or a cup of coffee. It's just the level of respect that our nation's uniform garners. So I would argue and say that when the community does see us, whether we're armed or not, there has to be a level of respect that's given. So hopefully that answers your question.
And I have one last constituent question. Trevor, if you want to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Sure.
Yep, unmute yourself again. Trevor, you're muted.
Okay. Yep, here it goes. Yeah, this is Trevor Brown. I'm a resident of Fairlawn. You know, thank you, Director Hunt, for taking your time out this evening to come in, you know, address some of our concerns and give some additional information. My question to you is, can you give us a little more about those left and right bounds of the mission for Task Force Beautification? Like some characteristics to that response might be what, you know, do activities need to be on public ground? Can it include private property? Is it just leaf and litter, or is it Could it be projects such as rust removal from the footbridge across 295? What are the limits or the requirements for the mission? Over.
Yeah, so we don't want to stovepipe and really block any types of requirements that may come forward. So again, we've had all types of requirements of removing graffiti and picking up trash and everything in between. So what I will ask, sir, is, if there are requirements that you would like for us to sort of evaluate based on feasibility, run those through the commissioner, and if that's something that we can do, I work closely with the task force beautification commander. And if it's something that the National Guard can support within our operational capacities, I think that's something we can look into.
Can you do things on private property? Like, in other words, if we've got trash, all over some property that's just been a nuisance property, can you guys help with that?
So that's, maybe that sounds like a trespassing law almost.
Mhm.
So we don't want to enter into that territory. We really want to focus on the community.
Okay,
right?
the streets, the alleys, things like that.
That's right.
Okay. Okay, again, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Lieutenant, I appreciate you. Thank you for your service to our community as well, and to your officers. You put your lives on the line every day for us. So we greatly appreciate that.
Anytime, Mr. Tom, anytime,
And-
constituents.
And we're just going to go through a few things. I am so sorry, Ms. Brown. Ms. Brown is from the Humane Resource Alliance. Ms. Brown, sorry to keep you holding. I appreciate you sticking it through. As you know, I had my own incident with a fellow canine in the neighborhood yesterday. I was attacked by another dog, and my dog was attacked, and I had stitches and stuff, but not why you're here. However, I know that you can relate to my pain right now. If you can give me 1 second. Yeah, you're good.
Thank you, everyone.
If Director, you're fine to go too, unless anybody else needs anything.
Thank you, everyone.
We just have a couple of quick things. I'm going to give a couple of community updates real quick and let we have a couple of people that are going to. Everybody's left me to myself now, I guess. Ladies and gentlemen, I am still having a meeting, so if you could take it out or to the hallway, possibly. Ms. Beck, thank you for your patience. Appreciate you. You're with the Humane Resource Alliance, and I know that you provide a really important service, which is our pet pantry. If you could talk a little bit about that for me.
Yes, well, this was a really interesting meeting because I know you asked before whether or not we actually had some National Guard members volunteering with us, because someone had mentioned that there were some uniform workers, and we did have some Andrew Air Force Base. They weren't supposed to be dressed up like in those type of clothes, but they were literally just volunteering, which was just bagging dog and cat food to give out to the community members. We actually served 151 community members with probably over 300 pets that day at Bread for the City. The pet pantry started in 2018 as the mobile pet pantry because there are no pet services east of the river. For those who have pets, Dr. Ashley closed a couple of years ago. You guys, there's no pet stores over there at all. So the Humane Rescue Alliance started a pet pantry, which is mobile again, so we can go to different places. We have currently 5 different locations. 4 of them are in zip code 220, and the other one is in zip code 219, so that we can service people who have pets in those communities. We serve over 500 families per month. We give away over 2,000 pounds of cat food and over 3,500 pounds of dog food. So we do have a lot of clients who definitely need those services. And all of the information can be found online at humanerescuealliance.org/pet pantry for any DC resident that may need pet food.
And I know I took advantage of the pet pantry, and that's where you and I had met. And there are a lot of people who do take advantage of this resource. And so thank you for the service that you're providing. Are there any other services that the Humane Rescue Alliance, what differentiates you from say, Brandywine?
So currently, Brandywine has the animal control contract. So anytime an animal is running loose or there is a sick or injured stray animal, that would be Brandywine. We are now again private, and so we investigate animal cruelty, but then we also have the other services. Like we just opened up a space on MLK, which used to be the old Max Robinson building. So we actually have veterinarian services there. You can go online again to find out the schedule and make appointments. So we're doing vaccinations, we're doing wellness checks at that specific building. The program that I also oversee, which is the HOPE program, we're doing free spay neuters for DC residents, specifically clients who are east of the river. That also includes like vaccinations, microchip, nail trim, and flea treatment. So we are currently still doing those services for clients east of the river because we know, again, there are no vets besides us at the MLK location. Otherwise, there are no other veterinarian services east of the river in the 3 zip codes, which is 220, 19, and 32.
Sorry, I'm sorry. So one of the other things I wanted to make note of is tomorrow, Wednesday 24th, from 5 to 7, Brandywine is offering free vaccine clinics for DC residents. Chance to paw tech your pet. DC residents are welcome to bring their cat or dog for free vaccines, including rabies, FVRCP, and DA2 PPV. No registration needed, just first come, first serve. So that's tomorrow from 5 to 7, New York Avenue campus, 1201 New York Avenue here in Washington, D.C. Well, thank you for your service. It was great meeting you. I appreciate you coming on and being patient. Sorry, I had anticipated on bringing you in much earlier, so my bad on that. But thank you very much for your patience on that.
Not a problem. I
Thank you
learned
for
a
the
lot,
information.
so that was exciting.
And was there a question from somebody?
No, I was just saying thank you for all the information.
So so thank you again. I want to move on to the couple of quick properties that I want to talk about. 1525 19th Street. This is the brick building on the corner of 19th and Q. They have received you probably have noticed that they've been doing some construction in there. I wanted to just let you guys know that they're doing expansion of units, increase the number of residential units from the existing 16 units. Ladies and gentlemen, it's okay. The number of residential units from 16 units to 28 units. And they're strengthening the foundation. They're adding an additional floor to construct an additional floor to accommodate the expansion of residential units. Also wanted to talk about the building that's had the fence around it on Young Street for forever. That building is actually up for auction. And that address is on Young Street, and I'll give you the address in just 1 second. Sorry, I don't have that in front of me. That address is 1415 Young Street. And so that's actually up for auction. It is completed. So it's starting its auction October 8th. And it's starting bidding is at I think $3 million. So I'll take so do you know if they have been fixed? If you have questions, please call me tomorrow. Does any of my other constituents have questions? So based upon, let me look at how many we have, if we still have, okay, so we still have a decent amount of people. My last question to my constituents is, so what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on the presentation tonight? I'm curious to see how you feel I should move forward on inviting the National Guard into our community. So if you could make some comments in the chat and give me a sense of how I will represent you next week at our full commission meeting. This is about, what you folks want in our community. So I'm sort of your, I represent you, so I will take whatever you want me to move forward to the director and to our full commission next Tuesday. Sure. Can you, okay.
The way the lieutenant was talking about the crime numbers for PSA 607.
Yep.
How would you describe PSA 607?
It's like mostly the Fairlawn community.
Just mostly the Fairlawn.
Yeah, because it's yeah, it's
Specifically, it's not just Fairlawn, like
Right.
16.
right, exactly, right. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, sure, no problem. Sorry, guys. Okay, so Ms. Wallace, you feel like we should move forward. I appreciate the information provided in their service. However, I vote no. Okay. Ms. Thomas, do you have any thoughts?
No, 37.
This person. Pioneer.
What's that? Ms. Taylor says yes. Maybe I will more of it sounds like the community is supporting inviting the National Guard into the community. I'll see if I can maybe even get some more of a sample. Maybe I'll email out an email to everyone. However, it does seem like we do have some support for inviting the beautification aspect of the National Guard into our community. Okay. With that said, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. I appreciate your questions. Appreciate you being involved. It's always important to have you involved. I thank you for your time. Please do keep in mind that if you do happen to see our National Guard men and women in our community, to thank them for their service and appreciate their service. Remember, they are here on orders, not necessarily by choice, but by requirement, by orders of the President of the United States. So again, I thank you very much for your time tonight, and I will look forward to seeing everyone this time next month. It's always the fourth Tuesday of every month. And if anybody has anything that they want me to bring up to our full commission next month or next week, please let me know. Sounds like you wouldn't do a blanket invitation, but rather assemble a list of specific projects to propose. Yes, yeah, I would. That's the idea, Trevor. I might do a community cleanup as well and include them. So I definitely want to hear from you guys as to what sort of projects you would like. And I know that I'll take some of them from our last meeting that we had as well. There were some suggestions.
I spent $70 on something she told me don't wear. Well, she
What's
told me
that?
don't wear. Don't wear it. You can bid.
No, somebody's just talking. Okay, guys. Thank you very much. Have a good night. We'll see you.
Thank you.
We'll see you in next month, fourth Tuesday of every month. Same place, same time, and or you can come in person here at Galilee Baptist Church. Thank you very, 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 very much to Galilee Baptist Church for allowing us to continue to use their house of worship for our meetings. Take care, have a good night, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks. Good night,
Thank you.
everyone. Bye.